All right, we'll say good morning. Let's begin. Beautiful daf ahead of us today. Today's daf is Lamed Dalid, 34. We are picking up on Lamed Gimel Amud Beis, 33b, and we're picking up Rabbi Meir. It's 2, 4, 5 lines up from the bottom. Our shir this morning, shirim this month, are dedicating the schus of a refuah shlema for Tzvi Meir Halevi ben Saralea. We hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah, he together with Kol Cholei Yisrael have a complete and enduring refuah. We'll say, let's begin. So remember again, we are in the really riveting sugya regarding what happens if a bechor animal becomes sick. And the only way to go ahead and heal the animal is how? To go ahead and quote-unquote injure it. So specifically what to focus on over here is that the bechor animal ach zodam, has some type of blood disease, and the only way to go ahead and cure it is through bloodletting. Obviously, again, what that's going to do is cause some type of blemish, some type of mum on the animal. So we'll say, so for that we have a machlokes. Rabbi Yehuda says, ultimately, again, it doesn't matter to let the animal die, you can't make a mum. Chachamim say you can go ahead and make a mum, but halacha l'maisa, you can't shecht based on that mum. So in order for the bechor to become a baal mum, that for which you would shecht, or would have to develop an additional mum. And Rabbi Shimon ends off in the Mishnah by saying, not only can you go ahead and make the mum to go ahead and cure the animal, but what? You can even shecht based on that mum. So that, I will say, that is our fundamental machlokes, and the Gemara quoted a variety of other opinions in this discussion as well. So the last piece we left off was a machlokes ultimately between Rabbi Meir and the Rabbanon. So Rabbi Meir, Hai Tamim L'Ratzon Mai Avidle. What does Rabbi Meir do with the pasuk of Tamim L'Ratzon? So remember again, the Rabbanon understood that Tamim Yu L'Ratzon means that if an animal is a Baal Mum, and you inflict another mum on that animal, that you're not chayiv. The only time you're chayiv for inflicting a mum is when the animal ultimately, again, was a baal mum, when the animal was a tamim, and then you inflicted a mum. But if the animal is already a baal mum, and you inflict another mum, that is not problematic. What does Rabbi Meir do with that pasuk? Rabbi Meir comes along, and he says, that pasuk comes to teach me that if an animal was born a baal mum, and you subsequently injure it, you make another mum in it, then everyone would agree that you're not chayiv for anything regarding that animal. Baal mum meikaro, if the animal was a baal mum from the beginning, pshita, obviously there's no prohibition in doing anything to that animal. After all, dikla ba'al mohu. It's a palm tree. Right? It's a palm tree. It's a palm tree. That will say, if an animal is born blemished, that means it was never fit for consecrated or sacrificial purposes. If that's the case, then ultimately it is no different than a quote-unquote palm tree. So Gemara says, rather, it comes according to our Meir to exclude psuli hamukdashin. Well, remember again, psuli hamukdashin means an animal which was pledged as a carbon, then developed some type of disqualification, was redeemed. That's called psuli hamukdashin. And after it was redeemed, Torah is teaching me tamim yil ratzon that halacha l'maisa one. Well, let's see. I would have thought hoil v'asir begizi ve'avoda, since psuli hamukdashin is aser by shearing and working. You can't shear the animal, you can't work the animal. Bemumin nami l'siru. I would have thought that ultimately, again, it should also be aser al tzmumin. Kamash mulan that's not the case. V'rabanan nami haksiv kol mum lo yihiyebo. What did the Rabbanon do with the pasuk kol mum? Rabbi Meir used kol mum to teach you that even if the animal is blemished, you cannot go ahead and cause another blemish. What do the Rabbanon do with kol mum? Ligramahu da'asi. Well, this is actually very interesting. The Rabbanon use it to teach me causation in the realm of mumin. Listen to this case. Tisanya, mum lo yihiyebo. Pasuk says, you shall not inflict a mum on the animal. Ein li ella, top of lamedalid. Ein li ella shlo yitain bo mum. From that I know that I am not permitted to actively inflict a mum upon the animal. Minayin shelo, this is interesting. Minayin shelo yavi devela ubatzek v'yanichana al ha'ozen kedei sheyavo kelev v'yochlena. Sirosa, I have a great chap. You see, I'm a Kohen. I really want to eat this bechar, but I need it to have a mum. But I can't inflict a mum. So what do? I take a little bit of some dates, or I take some dough, and I put it on the ear of my bechar animal. And what's going to end up happening? Another animal is going to see that date, or is going to go ahead and see that dough. And what's going to happen? It's going to take a bite. And when it takes a bite out of it, also take a bite out of the ear of the animal, which therefore causes the animal to become a Baal Mum. Then I will say that's a case of what we call grama. That's causation. Right? I am not directly creating the mum situation, but rather, again, I'm going ahead and creating the circumstances which create the mum situation. So how do I know that I'm not allowed to do that? Talmud Lomar, kol mum. Therefore, we'll say the pasuk says kol mum, or indirectly through a grama circumstance. So the Gemara goes weiter. Hacha bikrai pligi. So too over here, the Gemara says, remember again, I'll say we quoted the brisa about truma yesterday, right? What happens if you have a barrel of truma that became that was essentially suffik tuma, suffik tame? So the Gemara says, so too in that case, hachab b'krai pligi. There's also machlokes and psukim. Right? We'll say what happened? Because why? Dam Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel v'chin Amar Reish Lakish v'chin Amar Rav Nachman Amar Rav Baravua v'ani hinei nasati lecha es mishmeres truma si. So we'll say, listen to this. So the way the pasuk reads is Vaydarish Aaron va'ani hinei nasati lecha es mishmeres trumosai. Excuse me, lechol kodshei b'nei Yisrael. So Kosh Baruch Hu says to Aaron, I've given you mishmeres trumosai, which Rabbi say mean. So Rabbi Elazar Savar, let me just read Rabbi Elazar Savar, b'shtei trumos hakosov medaber. The Torah is speaking about two different trumos, because Rabbi say if you look at it, trumosai is plural. It's plural, right? So God says to Aaron, I've hereby given you the obligation to watch over my trumos, plural. And everybody say, why would trumos be plural? Or how? Right, what two trumos are we talking about? Oh, b'shtei trumas hakosov medaber, achos truma tahora, va'achos truma teluya. So everybody say the Torah is speaking about two different forms of truma. One is definitively tahar truma, and one is what we call truma teluya. Truma teluya means what? Right? It's suspended. Suffik. I don't know if it is tameh or if it is tahar. So what does the Torah tell me to do with these two types of truma? V'amrachmana avid la shimur. And the Torah tells me whether it is truma tahora or it's truma teluya, watch over it. Watch over it. So let's remember again, this was Rabbi Eliezer in that brisa that said that when you have the doubt about this barrel, what should you do? Cover it up and put it away. Based on the fact, watch over both of my trumos, truma tahora, truma teluya of Rabbi Yoshua. And Rabbi Yoshua says, truma si ksiv. Well, this is very interesting. Rabbi Yoshua says, but look at how the word is written. The word is written, although it's vocalized trumosai, right? My trumas plural. It's written trumasi, which means what? My truma singular. So we'll say, Rabbi Yoshua therefore says, the only time you're obligated to safeguard truma, to make sure that it remains tahar is where? When it's tahar. So we'll say, so amazingly enough, the machlokes Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua centers around the word trumosai. Rabbi Eliezer says it's red trumosai. Therefore, again, Allah say darshan. It means two trumas, and the Torah telling you that I have to be vigilant regarding two forms of truma. One being truma tahora, one being truma tameya. That both have to be guarded from contracting any further tuma. And Rabbi Yoshua says no, this is truma si. That's the way we read it. Truma si. Or I should say that's the way it's written. Truma si. One truma, you only have to be vigilant regarding truma tahora, not truma teluya. Watch this. So the Gemara says, Lamemra. So you're telling me now, the Rabbi Eliezer Savar Yesh Eim Lamikra. So we'll say we've seen this many times throughout our journeys in Shas. There's a fundamental machlokes of Yesh Eim Lamikra, Yesh Eim Lamasores. Do we assign primacy to how a word is pronounced or how a word is written? Because remember, many times when you look at a particular word in the Torah, it's pronounced the one way, even though it's written differently. So we'll say, so clearly, Rabbi Eliezer is darshaning this based on what? Based on what? Based on the fact that it says trumosai. That's how we read it. That's called yesh ein lamikra. We assign primacy ultimately to how the word is read. So is that true? Or minhi, but we learned, this is actually very interesting. Bevigdo ba. So we'll say this pasuk is saying as follows. Imra'ah beinei adoneh. This is talking about if a father sold his daughter as a servant. And also the idea is that we want the master or his son to marry the girl. But if that doesn't happen, if the girl does not find favor in the eyes of her master, who has not done yiyud, she should be redeemed. She should not be sold ultimately again to another nation. Now the verse we're going to, or the phrase we're going to focus on is bevigdo ba. Now watch this. Bevigdo ba, what does that mean? Kevan shepirish taliso aleha shuv eno rashay lamachra divi Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Akiva says, bevigdo ba, we literally read it as bevigdo, which is beged. What is the Torah is coming to teach us? That once ultimately again the master or his son married the daughter, married the servant. That's bevigdoba. Once he put his beged around her, which parish taliso alav, which is a lashon of marriage, the father no longer has the right to go ahead and sell his daughter. Now I will say what that means is as follows. So halacha l'maisa, let's say the following situation: father sells his daughter, she's a minor, sells her daughter, master marries her. It doesn't work out. I can't imagine why. Right? But it doesn't work out. It doesn't work out. Now she's still a minor. So I might have thought that the father has the right to sell her again, to which the Torah says bevigdoba. Once the master has spread out his beged over her, once she's married, even if she's divorced, while she is still a minor, the father no longer has any rights to sell her again. Essentially, you get one shot, right? There's one opportunity that this father has, not multiple opportunities. So we'll say, if you look at Rashi, Kevan shepirish taliso alav, sheyia da adon la'amo avriya v'nasa perish k'fanaf avala. So that's what we'll say, bevigdo ba. Once he extends his clothing over her, which ultimately is a lashon of marriage, shuv ena av rashay lamachra, afilu girsha adon de'in adam mocher bita l'shivchus achar ishus. Very important phrase. There is no shivchus achar ishus. Right? Again, she cannot be sold as a shivcha after she's been married. That's Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, kevan shebagad ba shuv eino rashay lamachra. So we'll say, interestingly enough, Rabbi Eliezer says, the way to read it is, so you'll also remember again, the word as it's written in the Torah is Beis Gimel Dalid Vav. We pronounce it bevigdo ba, but the truth is, as if it had what? As if it had like a yud in there. But in fact, if you were just to read the word straight, it could read bebugdo ba. Bagad means to rebel against something, to mistreat something. So Rabbi Eliezer says, Kevan shebagad ba. Once the father mistreated his daughter, how did he mistreat her? By selling her. Right, by selling her, although he has a license to do so, that in no way means that ultimately, again, this is the appropriate course of action. Kevan shebagdo ba. Once the father mistreated his daughter and sold her as an amo ivriya, Eino rashay lemachra. He no longer has the right to go ahead and sell her again. So we'll say, so interestingly enough, the machlokes here is, according to Rabbi Akiva, the way the word is being darshan is bevigdoba, teaching me that once the Amma Ivriya has been married to someone, even if divorced while still a minor, the father doesn't have the right to resell her. Rabbi Eliezer telling us that no, read it as it's written, which is bebagdoba. Once he was bogeyed, once he quote unquote rebelled against her, mistreated her by selling her, he no longer has the right to do that a second time. So why is this important for us? Because you just said before that Rabbi Eliezer holds yesh aim lemikra, that we give primacy to how the word is pronounced. Yet what do you see over here? That Rabbi Eliezer ultimately gives primacy to how the word is written. To which the Gemara says, you're right, rather again, I will say, when it comes ultimately again to the Truma case, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua are arguing about something different. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yeshua Savar, Hara'uya lecha shemar, v'she'in ra'uya lecha lo tishmar. Rabbi Yeshua says that when the truma is fit for use, there's an obligation ultimately to guard it from contracting tumah. When it's no longer fit for use, as it is not in the case of the suffix truma, the truma tuluya, there is no obligation of shimur. Rabbi Eliezer, nami ru'uyahi. Rabbi Eliezer holds even in the case of truma tuluya, the case of truma with suffix tuma, it's still fit. Why? Shema yavo Eliyahu v'yitarena, because maybe Eliyahu Navi will come and will declare it to be tahar, and if he declares it to be tahar, it once again becomes fit for consumption. Therefore, Rabbi Eliezer says, well, it's such a beautiful outlook on life, right? Eliyahu Navi could come anytime. Because he could come anytime, he could declare that this truma, in fact, is fit for consumption, and therefore you have an obligation ultimately to guard it from contracting any additional tumah. Mamish beautiful. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, halacha k'Reb Shimon. So also Rabbi Yehuda comes along and says the name of Shmuel that the halacha follows Reb Shimon. Then I will say, remember again, we had two Reb Shimons. We had Reb Shimon in the Mishnah who said that what? Who said that halacha l'maisa, if an animal contracts a blood illness, you can go ahead and do bloodletting on the animal, even though what? Even though you make a mum. That's it. Then we had Reb Shimon in the Brisa. Reb Shimon in the Brisa said that nishchat al osamum. Not only are you allowed to do bloodletting and go ahead and thereby cause a mum in the animal, but what? After you cause the mum for the bloodletting, you could then shecht the animal based on that mum. So it comes along and he says in Shmuel, halakha Reb Shimon, maskif la Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Okay, hey Reb Shimon, which Reb Shimon are you talking about? Ilaim Reb Shimon de Masnisin. If you want to say it's Reb Shimon of the Mishnah, so also remember again, what was the novelty? So Reb Shimon of the Mishnah says that if my animal became ill, and the only way to remedy the illness is through bloodletting, but bloodletting causes a mum, and you can't purposely go ahead and cause a mum in a bechar. So Reb Shimon says, yes, you can. Which Reb Shimon is that? That's Reb Shimon who says davar she'eino miskaven is mutter. We saw that on Shabbos. Right? That halacha l'maisa, to do something without intent, right, is mutter. So my intent is not to go ahead and maim the animal. Therefore, again, it's to heal the animal. Therefore, I'm permitted to do it. See if you want to say Reb Shimon of the Mishnah, ad hashta lo ashmu inin Shmuel davar she'ein miskaven mutter. So why do I need the Mishnah to teach me that a davar she'eino miskaven is mutter? That if you do something without intent for illegal activity, even if illegal activity results, ultimately, again, that's mutter. We've learned that already. Reb Chia bar Ashi Amarav halacha k'Rabbi Yehuda, Rav Chanin bar Ashi Amar Shmuel halacha k'Reb Shimon. But we already have on record Shmuel saying that halacha follows Reb Shimon. Rav Chia bar Avin masnila below Gavri. Rav Amar halacha k'Rabbi Yehuda, u'Shmuel Amar halacha k'Reb Shimon. So I will say, so again, if you're coming to teach me that the halacha follows Reb Shimon of the Mishnah, that a davar she'eino miskaven is mutter, I know that already, right? Meaning we've discussed that machlokas. Well, first of all, where does this discussion come up most primarily? In Hilchos Shabbos, right? But we've seen it in many areas of halacha where the position of Reb Shimon is that if you do something that is illegal, but it was not your intent for the illegal activity, but rather you had some positive intent for your illegal actions, halacha l'maisa, the act is permitted. We've seen that already. So why do I need to say it again over here? Ella Reb Shimon de Braisa. Rather, I will say the halacha follows Reb Shimon. It's Reb Shimon of the Braisa. I will say now again. Remember, what does Reb Shimon of the Braisa say? Not only are you permitted to go ahead and make a mum for the purpose of healing the animal, but what? You could shecht based on that mum. A dramatic shita. For Rav Shisha Breid Rav Idi Masnila Behedja. Shisha Breid Rav Idi wrote this or paskin to say explicitly. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel halacha Reb Shimon de Braisa. That the halacha is Shimon de Braisa. So also, of course, I know. So now you're asking yourself, so what's the halacha? Also, this is a major case. What's the halacha? My Bechor animal becomes ill. Right? The only way to heal it is to cause a mum. So I have two shilas. Number one, could I cause the mum? Number two, right? Can I check what's the status of that mum? Is that enough of a mum to then allow for shchit? So here's the answer. So Shulchan Aruch says, this is in Yaredeya, Simin Shin Yud Gimel Sef Vav. Bechar she'ach sodam. This case, Shulchan Aruch calls the same case in the Mishnah. A bechar becomes literally ach sodam, means seized by a blood disease, and again, ultimately, it requires bloodletting. Yakiz, you can go and do bloodletting in the animal, even though it will cause a mum. O bilvad shelo yiskaven la'asos mum. Now, obviously, you have to be honest and genuine in your intentions here, right? If you walk outside and you see a bechor animal, you say nevach bechor, you look a little under the weather, right? And maybe some bloodletting would do you good. That obviously is not correct. But assuming that we have a clear diagnosis, it's understood what has to be done. The halacha is you could bloodlet. So that's number one. You are allowed to cause the mum if it's going to save the animal. V'im na'aseh mum b'hakaza zu. Hare zu nishchat alav. and I will say, indeed, we pass like Rabbi Shimon and the Braisa, then not only are you permitted to go ahead and number one, what? Go ahead and cause the mum, but again, which really makes sense, if you have license to cause the mum, then what? Then halacha l'maisa, you're permitted to shecht based on that mum as well. Incredible. Says the Mishnah, Hatzorim ozen b'bechar. So I'll say ultimately again, if a person nicks the ear of his bechar. So I'll say, so in this case over here, this is a case where I'm just straight out causing a mum, right? There's no blood disease. Everything is fine. I am just going ahead and actively causing a mum in the animal. So what's the halacha? Hatzorim ozen bebechar hareza lo yishchat olamis divrei Rabbi Eliezer. Supposed to listen to this. If you cause a mum, so Rabbi Eliezer says we knas you, we penalize you, and what's the penalty? What's the knas? You can never shech this bechar, even if it develops another mum, right? On its own, still you cannot shecht this bechar. That's Rabbi Eliezer. The Chachamim say, no lad bo mum achar yishchot alav. The Chachamim say, listen, you can't shecht based on the first mum, but if the animal does develop another secondary mum, then halacha l'maisa you can go ahead and shecht based on that. So we'll say, so fundamental machlokes, I intentionally cause a mum, so everyone will agree that you can't shecht based on that first mum. Rabbi Eliezer will say there's a knas, you can never shecht that animal ever, no matter how many mum it develops. Chachamim say as soon as it develops a second mum, ultimately you are permitted to go ahead and shecht. Says the Gemara, Umi kanis Rabbi Eliezer li olam. So we'll say this is very interesting. We're going to get some very interesting sugyas. So essentially what Rabbi Eliezer is saying is actually a pretty severe knas. What's the knas I will say? I go ahead and in a moment of weakness, I cause a mum on my bechar. Rabbi Eliezer says, done, forever. That's the knas, I'm out. Someone says, really? Does Rabbi Eliezer impose such stiff knasos like that are forever? So the Gemara says, Urminhi will ask the kasha, Mi shai sala bahares. Amadeus says it's a great case. Someone had a bahares. Now remember again, what's a bahares? Some type of tsaras. And what does he do? V'niktzitza. Right? V'niktzitza. And ultimately, again, he goes ahead and now we'll say V'niktzara. She says Shalo niskavin lekatzitza. He didn't have in mind to cut it off. So we'll say whatever the mitzias is, right? He was getting I don't know what the mitzias is, but right, and I accidentally cut off a baharas, but he accidentally cut off. The point is, right? He was scratching, maybe he was scratching, whatever it is. You'll fill in the mitzias. Point over here is he removes the baharas, but it's unintentional. So what's the halacha? Tar. So I'll say in a case like that, ultimately again, he's look, if the baharas is removed, it's removed. If it's not there, it's not there. If he did it unintentionally, he's tar. Katzitza miskavein. However, again, Abu say if halacha l'maisa, he went ahead and he intentionally removed the baharas. Abu say, understand. So intentionally removing the baharas is circumventing the tsaras process. So he intentionally removes the baharas in order to go ahead and avoid the tsaras process. So what's the halacha? Rabbi Eliezer Omer l'chishiyulad lo nega achar yitar hemena. So Rabbi Eliezer says, listen, here's the reality. Because he circumvented the mitzvah process, he becomes tameh. He has tumas saras. When does tumas saras end? When he contracts saras a second time and undergoes a purification process again. That second purification process purifies him from the second saras and also from the first saras. Look at Rashi for just a moment. Yitar min arishon v'holchin achar zuvim yirpa mizu tar mikulam degloi milsa di havi kamaisa misti nami kihai. So we'll say ultimately again because we assume that the second saras mirrors the first, just like the second one was healed, so to the first one would have been healed. So we'll say that's Rabbi Eliezer. The Chum say no, ad shetifrach bekulo or ad shetemait baharto mikigris. So we'll say the Chacham say the mixing is out of order. The Chachamim say, if to begin with the tsaras was less than a gris, then ultimately again it wasn't problematic to begin with, and therefore removing it is not problematic. So this is actually interesting halacha by tsaras. Tzaras has to be a certain shear, a certain size. If it's less than that size, it's not tzaras, no matter what the color of it may be. So if a person had a tzaras lesion that was less than a gris, and he removed that, halacha l'maisa, that is not problematic. However, again, the Chachamim say, leaving that case aside, if I intentionally remove the bechoros, so when do I become tahar? Only at a point when tzaras overtakes my entire body. Achetifrach bekulo. Rashi says, nega ha'acharon v'leka lamechal shlamidi. Daha'i hava bekama hashta nami hava tzar. So let's listen to this. Why? Because what's the halacha with full body tzaras? Rabbi says that, remember again, this is perhaps one of the most unique aspects of Hilchos tzaras. Full body tzaras is tahar. So the Chachamim say, the only way to become pure from that first lesion that you removed is to be stricken with full body tzaras. Because full body tzaras essentially goes ahead and purifies everything that was on your body beforehand. So we'll say, fundamental machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim. What happens if you intentionally remove a tzaras lesion? So again, Rabbi Eliezer says that halacha l'maisa, you need to get tzaras a second time, and when you're purified from the second tzaras, that purifies the first. Chachamim say only become pure until you have full body tzaras. Rabbi will say, for our purposes, why is this important? Because Rabbi Eliezer is imposing a knas, but he's not imposing a knas li olam va'ed, right? What was very striking, the Gemara says about Rabbi Eliezer in our Mishnah, is that Rabbi Eliezer in the Mishnah is saying that what? If you intentionally cause a mum in a bechor, what's the halacha? The bechor is asur forever. So the Gemara is just taken by that. Rabbi Eliezer, what a strong kinas, forever. We see Rabbi Eliezer in other circumstances where he doesn't kinas, he doesn't penalize forever. So why is this different? To which the Gemara says, here we go. Rabbi Yossi Tomi Tarvayu, ki kanes Rabbi Eliezer b'mamono, begufo lo kanes. So we'll say ultimately, and here's the distinction. When does Rabbi Eliezer impose a stiffer kinas? That's by mammon. That's by property. When it comes to a person, right? When it comes to your body, ultimately, again, the kinas will be a little less severe, which makes sense. When it comes to your mammon, Rabbi Eliezer throws the kinas book at you. So therefore, the bechar you potentially caused a mum, the bechar is going to be asur forever. But with your body, with the tzaras, ultimately, again, it won't be asur forever. So the Gemara says, "Ika lemeimar." I'm sorry. So kikan shebelez mamono begufo lo kanas. Mamono ika lemeimar da asi lemeavad. Because they both say with mammon, ultimately we can see that if the knas is not stiff, if it's not a stiff penalty, then what? A person will come to go ahead and do that. They will come, meaning they'll come to play games with their mammon. Gufo mi'ika lemeimar da asi lemeavad. We'll say again, when it comes to their own body, especially in a case like this where you're talking about cutting off like a piece of your flesh, we're not as concerned that if the knas is not so stiff, you may come to do this. So therefore, again, essentially what Rabbi Eliezer is saying is the severity of the knas. A knas is a deterrent. A person is more willing to go ahead and take shortcuts with their property than they are with their body. And therefore, halacha l'maisa, Rabbi Eliezer imposes a stiff knas by the case of bechar, because if the knas is not stiff, a person may come to go ahead and intentionally cause a mum. We're not as concerned that a person is going to always come to intentionally remove tzaras, and therefore, although there is a penalty if you do so, the penalty is not as stiff as when you go ahead and play around with your mammon. So Amar Rava, the Rabbi Eliezer kasha, the Rabban lo kasha. Well, says the Gemara, but I don't understand. Remember, it's not just Rabbi Eliezer's shitos that seem to contradict each other. The positions of the Rabbanon are also problematic. Because remember again, in our Mishnah, the Rabbanon said that's what? If you potentially cause a mum to a behema, so what's the halacha? You cannot shecht it based on that mum. But what? As soon as it develops another mum, you could shecht it. Yet over here by tzaras, the Rabbanon seem to be quite severe. The Rabbanon say that you only become tar when you subsequently have full body tzaras. Pretty significant. Rather, Rabbi says the Gemara. The truth is, there's no contradiction between the shitos of Rabbi Eliezer, as we mentioned before. Rabbanon ad Rabbanon nami lo kasha, and the truth is, there's no contradiction between the positions of the Rabbanon. How so? Hacha b'may da'avid kansua, Hacha b'mai da'avid kansua. We'll say this is actually very interesting. That essentially what's happened over here is as follows: that halacha l'maisa, with that which he did, the knas is always imposed where the illegal activity occurred. So hacha b'mai da'avid kansua. So we'll say again, in the case of a mum, a person illegally caused the mum. Therefore, what? Therefore, halacha l'maisa, we say that mum doesn't work. In order for the animal to become mutter, you'll require a different mum. Hacha b'mai da'avid kansua. So ultimately, again, so too in the case of tzaras, that which he committed the illegal activity with is where the knas is. B'mai ichavin l'mishrei. So we'll say when a person intentionally caused the mum to the bechor, he intended to permit the bechor with that mum. Therefore, Bahai Muma Kansur Rabbanon. The Bahai Muma Lo Lishtarile. So we'll say ultimately again, so Chazal said, you try to permit the Bechar with this mum. Therefore, we're going to tell you that what? This mum does not permit the Bechar. V'hacha b'mai da'avid kansua. So too in the case of Tzaras, we knas him. We penalize him with that which he tried to do. So he tried to go ahead and be metayr himself by cutting out this baheres. Bahai ketzitza kansua rabbanon. Therefore, ultimately, again, with this ketzitza, that's where they can ask him. You cannot become tar ultimately again with the removal of this baheres, but you can become tar with the subsequent process with another baheres. Good. So we'll say that's some fundamental machlokes Rabbi Eliezer and the Rabbanon. So we'll say it's actually very interesting. Now the Gemara is going to follow up on the tzaras case, which is really quite amazing. Bayra Papa, yitar tnan ovi taher tnan. So we'll say, so Papa says like this. When we speak about, according to the Rabbanon, according to the Chachamim, according to Rabbi Eliezer, that ultimately again, so we'll say, let's analyze this case. I get a baheres. I decide I want to circumvent the system. What do? I cut it out. So what does Rabbi Eliezer say? The truth is, it's really both. Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim. So we'll say, so what does Rabbi Eliezer say? So Eliezer says, as soon as I get another nega, so the lashon was, l'chishiyolid lo nega achar yitaher. When I get another nega, I am tar. So we'll say, so now we're asking, Rav Papa asked like this, yitar tnan, ovi yitar tnan. What's interesting those Lashon supposed to look at Rashi. Yitar tnan demashma miyad kishi valid bo nega achar yitar min harishona. So we'll say, does yitar means what? Is Rabbi Eliezer saying that halacha l'maisa, the way this works is, I cut out the first baheres, therefore there's no way to purify that. But once a second baheres appears, the first one is automatically tar, meaning I have to deal now with the second one, but the appearance of the second one at least takes care of the first, or v'yitar tanan. Rashi says, over yitar tanan demashma, l'chishi valid nega achar v'yitar mimena mina achron, az yitar mina. Or do we say that, no, when the second one appears, and you undergo the purification process for the second one, then the first one becomes tar. We'll say here the shaila is, again, I had a baheres. I went ahead and I removed it. Illegal. Now what happens? Rabbi Eliezer says, so how do you remedy that? So the lashon of Rabbi Eliezer is, l'chisheyulad lo nega achar yitar emenu. When there's a second nega, you could be purified from the first. Gemara says, what does it mean you can be purified? The second nega, you could become purified from the first. Two ways to look at that. Either the mere appearance of the second nega simply negates the existence of the first. So as soon as the second one appears, first one is cared for. Or do we say no, that the purification process of the second covers the first one as well? You'll say to yourself, L'may nafkamina, who cares? I both say, watch this case. This is wild. L'chasen shenira bonega. Wow. I both say, where does this come up? This comes up in the case of a chasen. Who has the appearance of a nega. I both say, why? Watch this. Disnan. Chasen shenira bonega, nosna lo zayin yamim lo, ulitztaliso ulichsuso. V'chein beregel. Supposed to listen to this. If a chasen shows up during Sheva Brachas with some type of lesion on his body or on his clothing, you know what we tell him? Come back after Sheva Brachas. right? We're not examining this now. Come back after. Should we give him Sheva brachas, right? Tell him to come back later. Similarly, somebody shows up during Yom Tiv, right? And it looks like they have some type of lesion on their body or on their clothing. We tell them what? Come back after Yom Tiv. Watch this. So the chassan shows up. The chassan shows up during Sheva brachas, and he has a nega. So watch this. So we'll say, let's say this chassan also. What did this chassan do before the chasana? What did he do? Right? He wanted to get ready for the chasana. He cut out a becheros. And then what happens? They get married, and after the chuppah, there's another becheros. He shows up during Sheva brachas, showing us the second becheros. So watch this. I amrit yitar tnan. So I will say, if you hold yitar, right, and yitar means what? That as soon as the second sara'as lesion appears, the first one is automatically tar. Then the good news is, when he shows up on Sheva brachas, mikamaisa tarle, basraisa natrin le zayim emishta. So we'll say there's good news and bad news, right? Well, actually, in this case, there's only good news. When that second saras lesion appears, then what happens, Rabbi Osai? And he shows up. So the appearance of the second one, what does it do immediately? It says the first one is done, right? The first one is tar. And then when it comes to the second one, what do we tell the chassan? Come back after Sheva brachas. However, again, so again, if you hold yitar, then the appearance of the second lesion automatically purifies the removed first. Now for the lesion that's in front of us. Now, you know what we tell him? Come back after Sheva brachas. But if you say ultimately again viyitar, which means no. The way this works is when the second lesion is purified, when you go through the purification process for tzaras, for the second one, that purifies the first, then sof kilom mitamis lebasraisa hamitami v'kai mikamaisa. Here's the problem with this chassan. The problem with this chassan, I will say, is what? Is until you go through the purification process of the second one, the first one is still in a state of tumah. So the shaila is, does this chassan have tumas sara'as or not? Depends mamish fundamentally on how you understand yitar or v'yitaher. Does the appearance of the second nega, the mere appearance, render the first one tahor? Or is it the purification process of the second nega that ultimately purifies the first? Which the Gemara says, teku. I will say another reason, like you need another reason, to yearn and to pine for Eliyahu HaNavi, for the Mashiach, to resolve another issue for us, is it v'yitar or v'yitar? Halavai we'll find out today. So we'll see, here we go, weiter. So Tzorim, Ozen, Bebechar, Umeis, great, just gets better. It gets better. Mamish Kei said, listen to this. So here's what I did. Ruvain went ahead and cut the ear of his bechar. Illegal. He actively caused the moment his bechar. Then what happened? Baruch Tainemes, Ruvain dies. Now we'll say, now what happens? That blemished bechar now goes to the Yerusha of his son. We'll make it easy. Yaakov dies, right? Yaakov blemished his bechar. He dies, and ultimately again leaves the bechar to his son Ruvain. So now you know what's going to be the shaila. Ma'uliknos beno acharav. So we'll say, here's the shaila. The shaila is, what's the status of that animal, legabe v'yorish, right? What's the status of the animal for the child, for Ruvain, right? Remember, Ruvain didn't do anything wrong, right? Ruvain didn't blemish the animal. The issue is that Ruvain now has in his possession a bechor animal which was blemished by his father. So what is Ruvain's, I was going to say, what's Ruvain's relationship to that animal? But that just doesn't sound right. Right, so I'll say, ultimately, again, what's Ruvain's permissibility legabe that animal? To which the Gemara says, Ma'olik no spino acharov. So I'll say, so the shaila is, does Ruvain not only inherit the animal, but does he inherit the knas of that animal as well? So the which the Gemara says, Intin selomar. So watch this. If you want to bring a raya from a different case. Mocher Avdullah Oved Kochavim Umeis. Supposed to listen to this interesting case. The halacha is that you are not permitted to sell your eved to a Gentile. Right? You're not permitted to sell you. That's the halacha. This is of course, by an eved Ivri, but it's even by an eved Knani. Right? You're not allowed to go ahead and sell your eved to a non-Jew. Let's say in the same case, Yaakov did it. Yaakov dies. What's the halacha, Rabbi Osai? So Mocher Avdullah of the Chomeis. Kanso b'no acharov. ultimately, I will say in that case, we obligate the son, the inheriting son, to redeem the slave, to redeem the servant. Now that case, so I will say, what does that sound like? What that sounds like is, in a situation where the father did something wrong, the ramifications of the father's actions are inherited by the son. The Gemara says that case might be different. Why? Because I must remember again, an Eved Kanani has certain halachic obligations. Every day that he is living with a Gentile master, he's not fulfilling those obligations. Therefore, of course, there's an obligation upon the son to redeem that Eved. Imtim Salamar, so maybe I'll bring a different raya. Watch this case. Kivin malachto b'moed umeis. What's another interesting case? Halacha l'maisa, the father, right? Again, Yaakov in this case, the father purposely scheduled work to be done on Chalamayid. The halacha is you're not supposed to go out and purposely schedule work to be done on Chalamayid. And if you do so, ultimately there's a knas. Umeis, now the father died. So we'll say, so now what happens? The father died, the work is about to be done on Chalamayid. The son didn't know about this. If the work is not going to get done, then what? It's going to be what's called a davar ha'avid. It's going to be a lost opportunity. Now remember, the son had no idea, the son was not involved. He inherits this situation. What's the halacha? Lo kansu b'no acharav, mishum de lo avda li isura. So we'll say, ultimately, in that case, we actually allowed the work to be done on Chalamayid. Why? Why? Because the son did not schedule it, and therefore we mamish look at it as a davar ha'avid, as a lost opportunity. So hachamai. So we'll say, so the shaila is, so what's the status over here? We'll say, see here the two distinctions. On one hand, so we see, let's say by the Chalamayid case, the son didn't do anything. He didn't schedule the work. And therefore, again, we allow the work to be done, because if not, it'll cause the son an unnecessary loss. On the other hand, if the father sold the Eved into servitude, or the father sold the Eved to a non-Jew, we obligate the son to redeem that Eved, because at the end of the day, the Eved himself will continue to be compromised. So I will say, so the Shiloh over here is in the case of Bechor, where the father intentionally injured the Bechor. So now the Shiloh is, what's the status of the animal Lagabi, the son? To which they went, Hachamai, Ledidei Kansur Abanon Vahale. Say, do we say the Knas is on the individual and the father is dead? So if the father is dead, there's no longer a Knas, and the son could go ahead and shecht that Bechor when it develops a mum. O dilma limamone kanserabanan v'ha'ise. Or maybe at the end of the day, the knas will say is on the mum, and will say is actually a fundamental yisod the kasha. Is the knas on the gavra, or is the knas on the chefza? Right? Is the penalty on the individual? Well, if it's on the individual, the father's dead. Therefore, there's no more knas. Or is the knas on the bechar? And whoever owns that bechar, that is a bechar that cannot ever be shechted. Amrulei Tinisua. He said, we learned this. Sadesh in his kavtza b'shvius. So we'll say if you have a field, this kavtza means that halacha l'maisa, somebody cleared the field. Let's say there was debris on the field, detached debris on the field, and you cleared it, although you're not supposed to do that during Shemitah. If you did it, you are still permitted to go ahead and sow that field on Matzeh Shemitah. Nitaiba, Nidaira, I will say, but if you fertilize the field, Nitaiba and Nidaira refers to different ways in which you fertilize the field. Lo Tizra Matzeh Shvius. If you went ahead and you illegally worked your field on the Shemitah year, Chazal gave you a knas that you cannot go ahead and work that field on Matzeh Shvius. Amar Avasya Mechanina, Naktinan, we learned, Hetiva Umeis Bino Zora. That Rabbi say again, if the father worked the field, he improved the field, right? He worked the field during Shemitah, and then the father died. The son inherits the field. The son is permitted to go ahead and sow that field Matzeh Shvius. What do you see from here? Alma lididei kanser abanon librelo kanser abanon. I'll say, what do you see from here? You see that halacha lemaisa, the din of knas is a din on the gavra. When Chazal knas, when they penalize someone, that penalty ultimately again is on the individual, not on the object. Therefore, again, it appears that the Gemara is saying over here that halacha lemaisa, in the case where Yaakov the father purposely blemished the bechar, that knas that he may never shecht it is upon him. If he dies, and ultimately again the bechar is inherited by his son is not bound by that penalty. We'll say to be continued in Mir Hashem tomorrow.